everybody, my name is Holly. Thank you for joining me for today's yoga. Today is going to be an opportunity just to move on the mat. We are going to be doing a little bit of everything. It's going to be a fairly strong practice. We will be doing a lot of vinyasas, but as always, this is your time on the mat. So if you want to take things a bit more gentle, or if you are fairly new, then you may not want to do all the vinyasas. If you like to use props in your practice, then just have one to hand. I am going to be modifying some poses whilst I am pregnant, so I'm going to take some really gentle vinyasas where I will be bringing my knees down, but you are welcome to just do your chaturangas and updogs if that is what feels good for you. We're going to start today in a comfortable seated position, so I'm going to sit cross-legged. You could sit on your heels if you prefer. Definitely use a block if it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. You want to feel even in the sitting bones, lifting up at the waist. Let the shoulders drop down away from the ears. And you can close the eyes or lower the gaze. I'm just taking a moment here to settle on the mat. Starting to become present in the moment. Starting to quiet the mind. Pausing any thoughts. And using this time to check in with how you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally. And bringing our focus to our breath, taking our inhales and exhales through the nose. Inhaling fully. And exhaling completely. Letting our inhales be just as long as our exhales. And taking 2 more rounds of breath together. Fluttering the eyes open. Bring your hands to your knees if they're not already. We're going to move through some seated circles. So we're going to bring our chest down towards the right thigh, over towards the left. Just making circles with the upper body. Moving in one direction to begin with. And the next time you come through to center, start moving in the opposite direction. Making one more circle, and then coming back through to center. This time on an inhale, raising our hands up towards the ceiling, bringing our hands into prayer position, bend at the elbows, bring the thumbs to the back of the neck. Getting a stretch down the backs of the arms, lifting up out the waist. And then lowering our hands, we will move into a twist. So you're going to bring your left hand onto your right knee, bring your right fingertips behind you, lifting up out of the waist, exhaling to take your twist, drawing that belly in towards the spine. And if it feels okay for your neck, you may be able to take your gaze over the right shoulder. And then inhaling back through the center, both arms up, bring your hands into prayer position. And then bending at the elbows, bring the thumbs to the back of the neck. Exhaling to release the hands down, this time twist into the opposite side, so right hand comes to left knee, left fingertips behind you. Inhale, lift up out of the waist, exhaling, taking your twist. And then coming back through to center, both arms up, and then exhaling to release, and we'll come into a tabletop pose. Wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Let's move through some rounds of cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly, tailbone lifts, chest comes forward, gaze is forward. Exhale into rounds, taking the chin in towards the chest. Inhaling, belly drops, tailbone rises. Exhale into round through the upper back. And then move in 2 more times with the rhythm of your own breath. then after your next exhale, coming into a neutral spine. So we'll bring our left leg out straight behind us on the mat, tucking the toes, pushing through the heel, getting a little bit of a calf stretch. And then lifting that left foot and taking it all the way over to the right. Maybe gazing over your right shoulder, you can see those left toes behind you. And then bringing that left foot back through to centre, we'll open out to our supported side plank. So taking our left hand up towards the ceiling, you can use this right foot as a kickstand out behind you to help you feel a little bit more balanced. And gaze can come up to this top hand if it feels okay for your neck, lifting up out of this right shoulder. And then exhaling to lower this left hand down. We are back in our tabletop pose. We'll move through one round of cat-cow. Inhale, draw up the belly, tailbone lifts. Exhale into round, chin in towards the chest. And then coming back into a flat back. This time taking the right foot towards the back of the mat, tuck the toes, push through the heel. Stretching into that calf. And then lifting the right foot, taking it all the way over to the left, maybe gazing over your left shoulder. You can see those right toes behind you. And then bringing that right foot back through to centre, we'll open out to our supported side plank. Taking that right hand up towards the ceiling, maybe using this left foot as a kickstand. Lifting up out of this left shoulder. And then exhaling, lowering this right hand down, we're back in our tabletop pose. And then tucking these toes, making sure our feet are about hip width distance apart. On an exhale, we'll lift into our first downward facing dog, sending that tailbone high. You might want to pedal out the feet here, maybe bending into one knee, taking the opposite heel down, holding it here. Looking for length in the spine, a nice flat back. And then coming into some stillness with the legs. We'll work into a little bit of upper body and core strength. So on our next inhale, we're going to ripple forward into our high plank. Exhaling back into downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple forward into high plank. Exhale into down dog. Inhale to come forward, high plank. Exhale into down dog. And one final time, inhale to come forward, and then exhale into our down dog. From here, we're going to lift the heels, come up onto the balls of the feet, bend the knees, gaze towards the top of the mat. We'll take little steps up towards the hands. Coming into our Ragdoll Fold, keep a bend in the knees, feet are about hip width distance apart, holding onto opposite elbows, let the crown of the head hang heavy. Option to just hang out here, or you can sway gently from side to side. Releasing all the way down the back of the body. Releasing the lower back. And then releasing the fingertips down. We'll slowly roll all the way up the spine. Come into our Tadasana, our mountain pose. Let the palms of the hands face forward. Lengthen the tailbone down. Lift the crown of the head. And we'll start to flow. On an inhale, circling our arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, bring the hands out wide, dive down over the body into our forward fold. Inhaling into our half lift flat back. Exhaling to fold, plant the palms, step back plank pose. On our next exhale, we'll lower. Inhale into your cobra and coming into a gentle up dog. On an exhale, making our way into downward facing dog. On our next inhale, coming into three-legged dog, lift the right leg. Exhaling, bringing that right knee in towards the nose and stepping that right foot in between the hands. Lower the back knee down. You're going to come into your easy twist. Plant the left hand down. Take the right hand up towards the ceiling. I'm coming into an open twist. You want to draw that belly in towards the spine so you can twist a little deeper towards that bent leg. Gazes up to this top hand if it feels okay for your neck. On your next exhale, lower your hand down, bring both hands to frame the front foot, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, we're coming into high lunge. Square everything off to the front of the mat, and then bending into the elbows, we're going to come into eagle arms, so take the left elbow underneath the right elbow, bind once or bind twice. If this isn't available to you, hold on to the shoulders instead. Lift the elbows slightly, drop the shoulders, and maybe taking these forearms a little bit further away from the face and tuck the chin in. On our next exhale, we're going to release our hands and come into chair pose, taking this left foot up to meet the right foot, bending into the knees, sink the hips, reach the arms up overhead. Lifting up out of the lower back, so you're not arching through the lower back. Gaze is up to these fingertips if it feels okay for your neck. Weight is in the heels of the feet. Strong thighs. On our next exhale, lowering into a fold. Inhale, find length in the spine, half lift flat back. Exhaling into our fold, plant the palms, step back plank pose. Move through a vinyasa, exhale to chaturanga all the way down. Inhale into your cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Moving on the left side, on our next inhale, three-legged dog on the left, lift the left leg. Exhaling, knee in towards the nose, step the left foot in between the hands, lower the back knee down. You're coming into your easy twist, plant the right palm, take the left hand up. I'm coming to an open twist. Gaze is up to this top hand if it feels okay for your neck. Lower this top hand down, bring both hands to frame the front foot, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, come into high lunge. Everything faces the front of the mat, bending into the elbows. This time we're taking right elbow underneath left elbow, bind once or twice, coming into eagle arms. Enjoying that space you've made between the shoulder blades, into the upper back. On our next exhale, we're going to release into chair pose, so we're going to bring the right foot up to meet the left foot, bending into the knees, sink the hips, reach the arms up overhead. Maybe your gaze is up to your fingertips if it feels okay for your neck. Maybe pressing down into the heels of the feet so much you can lift the toes off the mat. On an exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale into our half lift flat back. Exhaling and making our way into plank pose and moving through a vinyasa. Exhale to chaturanga all the way down. Inhale into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, three-legged dog, raise the right leg. Exhale and step this right foot in between the hands, lower the back knee down. This time we can take a quad stretch, so bending into this left knee, bringing that foot in towards you, maybe taking your right hand behind you, catching a hold of the left foot, drawing a little bit closer in towards you. On our next exhale, gently lowering this left foot down towards the mat. Both hands frame the front foot, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, lift into high lunge. Bending into the elbows, coming into eagle arms. Left elbow comes underneath the right elbow. Bind once or twice. This time we're going to take some pulses. So on our next exhale, we're going to lower the back knee down, kissing the mat. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to lower that back knee down. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to lower. Inhaling as we lift. One more time. Exhaling to lower. And inhaling to lift. Releasing these arms, we're coming into our chair pose. We're going to step the left foot up to meet the right foot. Bending into the knees, sink the hips. On On our next exhale, we're going to slowly transition into boat pose. So you can bring your hands down for support if you want to, otherwise you're just going to lower the hips down until they meet the mat, and then raising the feet, shins up in line with the knees. Reaching our arms out in front of us, pushing the heels, working into the hip flexors, try and keep those thighs in towards the chest, keep the chest lifted. On our next exhale, crossing at the ankles, bring the hands down, step back plank pose. Moving through our vinyasa. Exhale to chaturanga all the way down. Inhaling into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, coming into three-legged dog on the left. Exhaling, stepping the left foot in between the hands. Lower that back knee down. Taking that quad stretch, bending into the right knee, bringing that right foot in towards you, taking the left hand behind you, catching a hold of the right foot. Drawing that heel a little bit closer in towards you. And then gently releasing this right foot down, tucking the back toes, lift the back knee, coming into high lunge. And then bending at the elbows, coming into eagle arms. Right elbow underneath left elbow, bind once or twice. Moving into those pulses. On our next exhale, lower that back knee down, kiss the mat. Inhale into lift. Exhale into lower. Inhale into lift, core is strong. Exhale into lower. Inhale into lift. One more time. Exhaling as we lower. Inhaling as we lift. On our next exhale, we're going to step this right foot up to meet the left foot, coming into chair pose. Release the arms. On our next exhale, we're going to lower down into our half boat. Save the hips, use your hands for support if you want to. Bring those shins up in line with the knees. Reaching through the fingertips, chest is lifted. Core is strong. On an exhale, lower these legs, cross at the ankles, bring the hands down, step back plank pose. Moving through a vinyasa. Exhale to chaturanga all the way down. Inhale into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we're going to ripple forwards into our plank pose and come into side plank on the left. Roll into the outside of the left foot, raising the right hand up. Option to take supported side plank if you want. Lifting up out of the waist and making sure those hip points are facing the long edge of the mat and not turning up towards the ceiling. Lifting up out of this left shoulder. And now using some strength here, we're going to lift this top leg and step the right foot to the top of the mat. Don't worry if you needed a few goes to get it there. And then lifting into our high lunge. Bending into the elbows, coming into eagle arms. Left elbow underneath right elbow, bind once or twice. And then stepping up into full eagle. We're going to step this left leg up and over the right leg. So you can bring these left toes down next to the right foot for balance, or you can double wrap. Maybe sinking those hips a little bit deeper. On our next exhale, release into chair pose, unwind the legs, reach the arms up overhead. On our next exhale, lowering down into our half boat pose. Option here to take full boat, I'm going to stay in half boat. Keep the chest lifted. On an exhale, cross at the ankles, bring the hands down, step back plank pose. Moving through a vinyasa. Exhale to chaturanga or all the way down. Inhale into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, rippling forwards into plank
And coming into side plank on the right. Taking that left hand up towards the ceiling, lift up out of the waist. And then using some strength here, we're going to take this top foot towards the top of the mat. And then lifting into our high lunge. That's a tough one to do, don't worry if you needed to step it up a few times to get it to the top of the mat. And then coming into eagle arms, bend into the elbows, take right elbow underneath left elbow, bind once or twice. And then coming into full eagle, you can step this right foot up and over the left foot, bringing the right toes down next to the left foot or double wrap. Maybe bending into those knees a little bit deeper. Exhaling to release into chair pose. Reach the arms up overhead. And then exhaling, releasing down into half boat or full boat. If you want to straighten the arms and take the straighten the legs, take the arms up overhead. Exhaling, crossing at the ankles, bring the hands down, step back into plank pose, moving through our final vinyasa. Inhale into your back bend, exhaling, downward facing dog. And then from here, lowering the knees down, coming into a child's pose, bringing big toes together, sink the hips, take the forehead down onto the mat. And taking a moment here, letting the heart rate slow down. And then slowly starting to walk those hands in towards you as you lift the chest. We're going to come into hero pose from here. Use a block if you need to. We're going to bring our heels to the outside of the hips. If this is too much for the knees and the ankles, just skip it. You can stay sitting on your heels if you prefer. And this might be as far as you want to go. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can bring your hands behind you, maybe coming down onto the elbows and forearms. Check and see how this feels. Tuck the tailbone under. If you want to go down all the way, you can start to release down onto the shoulders and the back of the head. Seeing how this feels in the lower back. If it feels uncomfortable, then just back out of it. And then to support yourself coming out of this pose, bring one hand onto the lower back and then bringing yourself up onto one elbow. And then using your hands to lift you back up. You can stay in hero pose if it feels okay on your legs, or otherwise just release from here, come to cross-legged or sitting on your heels, whatever feels best for you. We're just going to work into a neck release. So dropping our right shoulder down to our right ear. Stretching down the left side of the neck. And then lifting that head back through to center, we'll drop the left ear down to the left shoulder, stretching into the right side of the neck this time. And then lifting our head back through to center. Bring our hands down onto the mat in front of us so we can lift the hips and take our feet off to one side. Bring our legs out long in front of us. Feel even in the sitting bones, reach the arms up overhead, lift up out of the waist on an inhale, exhaling, taking a fold. Hinge from the hips. Bring your hands wherever is comfortable. If your hamstrings feel tight, keep a bend in the knees. It doesn't matter how far you're folding, as long as you're feeling the stretch down the back of the body and releasing that lower back. next inhale, release, lift the chest. Taking a bend into the knees, you may need to scoot the sitting bones forward slightly, plant the soles of the feet, bring your hands, palms down onto the mat just behind the sitting bones. We're going to move into some reverse table lifts. So on an inhale, we're going to lift the hips, working into the shoulders. Exhale into lower. Inhale into lift. Exhale in as we lower. One more time, inhale into lift, hold it here. Glutes and hamstrings are engaged. Lift in those hips. And then exhale in as we lower. Release the hands, bring the arms out in front of you. Slowly, with control, we're going to roll all the way down the spine until we bring our shoulders and back of the heads down onto the mat. You might want to bring your heels a little bit closer in towards you. With your arms down one beside you, you may be able to brush the back of your heels with your fingertips. Don't worry if you can't. On an inhale, we're going to lift the hips, roll all the way up the spine, coming into our bridge pose. Chest comes in towards the chin. Keep the head steady to protect the neck. Exhale into lower, all the way down the spine until we bring our hips back down onto the mat. One more time, inhale and lift the hips, roll all the way up the spine. Pressing down through the soles of the feet. Upper body is relaxed. And then exhaling to release, rolling all the way down the spine. And then we'll just take our knees from side to side to release the lower back. And then from here, we're going to bring the knees in towards the chest and then taking our legs up towards the ceiling. So it doesn't matter, your legs don't have to be straight here, you can keep a bend in the knees if it feels better. You can scoot yourselves up against the wall and have your legs, your heels resting against the wall, or you can bring your palms onto the mat and then just scoop them underneath the sitting bones, just to lift, give a little bit of lift into the hips. You can flex and point into the feet if that feels good. And then taking a bend into the knees, bringing them in towards the chest. Wrapping the arms around the shins, and maybe just swaying gently from side to side, massaging that lower back into the mat. And then bringing your arms out of shoulder height, or cactus the arms if you don't have the room. You're going to take a reclined twist from here, but I'm going to come up to seated. So you're going to lower your knees down to the left as your gaze goes over to the right, keeping both shoulders down on the mat. And then using your core to bring your knees back through to center, and then lowering your knees to the opposite side, letting the gaze go away from you, keeping both shoulders down on the mat. And then bringing your knees back through to center, hugging your arms around your shins for a moment, curling yourselves into a little ball. An option here, you can hit pause and take a longer shavasana, or you can hold onto the backs of your knees, rock yourselves up to seated, or roll to one side and push yourselves up to seated. Bringing your hands wherever is comfortable. And taking this moment to have a quick check with how the body is feeling, noticing if you feel any different to how you felt when you first got on the mat. And we'll close off our practice, so bringing our hands into prayer position at heart center.
Bowing our forehead to our fingertips. Giving yourselves a thank you for making time to get on the mat today, and thank you very much for joining me. Thanks everyone. I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.